Well, good morning, everybody. This is Ron Coughlin from the What's Your Story podcast. And, this podcast is about people and their true stories, and people have great stories to tell. I mean, they have stories about their past, they have stories, and actually people are brands. And so brands also have stories that connect emotionally to consumers. And so that's what this kind of podcast is all about. But because we're in this, as you've heard in our previous sessions, in this kind of pandemic, we've kind of been shaping our discussions a little bit around the new normal. So today I have a guest who I've known for quite a while, over 10 years, and we work together. He's a great guy. His hair's getting a little long during this COVID, but that's okay. Anyway, him and I worked together at Toronto Pearson International Airport. And so Shane is the president, CEO. He could even be the founder of a research company called Hotspex. And we use them to do a quantitative research study on the passengers and really understand the customer experience, as well as we segmented the passengers into specific groups so that we could perform and develop marketing programs that would better connect to these passengers. So welcome today, Shane. And is there anything I've missed out about who you are and what you'd want to tell the audience here?
Thanks, Ron. That was a good summary. I guess the one addition to us being an insights company is we bought a media company last year to use behavioral science and Google artificial intelligence to better align ads with content. Because when you do that, the ads work better. Particularly in these times, people are in a very different mindset as we head towards the new normal or the next normal, as some of our clients call it. And so just being empathetic to consumers about what kind of marketing messaging they want to receive, and then being in the appropriate mindsets to receive them, it's a very interesting time to be able to do that. And so, you nailed it. We're an insights company. We work with about 300 brands around the world. So we've got good insight into what's happening across many different categories, like dozens of categories, and what's happening and how the dynamics are changing and what our clients are doing about it. And it's a great time to be in marketing, because I do believe that, there's a significant economic downturn coming. And what is the economic engine of the world? It's consumers. And without great brands that make great products and services that are advertised very well, there's nothing that's going to get that consumer engine going more. Well, I guess as opposed to government handouts and cash will help as well too. Yeah. But you see the savings rate skyrocketing. To get people spending and realizing the joy that products and services can bring them is going to be important. So it's a great time to be talking to you, because I believe that marketing is going to help pull us out of this.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that. So you're the president of a pretty substantial research company, and it's March the 1st, and everything was hunky-dory. You're wondering what's going on, and then within 2 weeks, bang, the world had changed dramatically. So why don't you take us through, as the president of that company that you run, kind of what you went through, and what it was like, and what were the things that you learned from, and how you adapted to this new normal, and treated your employees a certain way, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you could help us there.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a couple of things. There's the employee side and the internal, what did we do as an agency side, and then what's going on with our clients too, which is fascinating also. So internally, I've got interesting friends in high places that told me that the severity of this was going to be significant and long lasting. So we were one of the first agencies to shut our office down and get people to start working from home.
When was that?
I forget the exact day, but it was like a Thursday. It was like 5 or 6 or 7 days before everybody else started doing it. It was just before March break. And, people, our staff, we sort of measured how we talked about it, or how I talked about it, saying, let's just try this out, safety first. But with a good notion that, this was going to be more long-term. Okay. The thing that's been great for us is that it's just because we digitized our whole agency, and I've always been very digitally focused. I mean, it's very technology-driven insights agency. And so that's allowed us to move and work remotely very, very quickly and cohesively. So we run Microsoft Teams, and allows us to just stay ultra connected. Again, you said we're a significant research company. It's interesting because we do a lot of work around the world. Yeah. And so it's just our ability to, there's the good and the bad. So our ability to be able to serve global clients and not have to travel to China or Australia or Los Angeles and just do this from my son's bedroom that I'm in. He actually, I can hear him speaking downstairs right now. Yeah, he charges me rent. Here's my lease, $1 room rental fee. Yeah, but if I spill a coffee, it costs me $20. So my enterprising son has been nice enough to let me use his room at our cottage up here in Collingwood, which it's been great because, more time with family, much more efficiency around client meetings, because you can just talk to everyone always. And I think I did a day a few weeks ago where I was virtually in 7 countries over the course of one day. Yeah. And it's just this crisis has unlocked our ability to do that, has now proven to all of us, which maybe we knew, which is that the ability to work remote would allow for that. Then there's some downsides too. And so we've been carefully monitoring our staff and making sure that we're sending them monitors if they need them. And we've got all our staff something called Hoot Reading, which is like reading to small children over iPads to give moms and dads who are both working a break. We've been sending food to our staff when they need it. We're getting a lot of, and it's not, we don't do it for the recognition, but we're happy to hear that, we didn't rescind any of our internship offers. We kept all our interns, and apparently that's not been the case.
Hello there.
Hey, buddy. Say hi to Ron on the podcast. Say my coworker or my landlord here.
Hey.
Yeah.
But how much you charging them?
How much you charging your rent, buddy?
$2 a day.
Oh, he increased the rent just now. Hey, buddy, so we're just telling you what working from home is like. So go downstairs.
What's it like working with your dad at home?
What are you doing?
We're doing a podcast, but this is Ron. This is one of Dad's old clients. He's actually a marketing professor.
Hey, clients.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to keep talking to you. You got to be quiet, okay? Because it's important. There's a lot of people listening. So that is one of the things that also happens is we now all have these interesting new coworkers, right? That I shouldn't have told him that I was doing a podcast because normally this one. But he does like TikTok, which is actually a new client of ours, and anything digital where he knows things are getting filmed, he's interested in.
No,
our clients. So thankfully we have.
I don't like it anymore.
Oh, you don't like TikTok anymore? Okay, you do have to go outside though because I need to record this. No, I'll come give you treats in a sec.
What's his name, by the way?
Bodie.
Hi, Bodie. See you, Bodie. See you
later, dude. Have fun at school. Just trying to get out of doing school, which is one of the issues that's happening to people, which is it's some good, some bad with this whole distant learning thing that's happening digitally. And it's not so great for our grade 2. It's quite good for our grade 7 and our grade 5 are both in pretty good programs where the teachers have adjusted. Yeah. But it's this thing that we're in is all about, how do you adjust and how do you make sure your staff are well taken care of, that they're mentally okay. So we got everybody a BetterHelp subscription, which allows for online counseling, which I even do myself, which is fantastic. We provided that to all of our clients. And in fact, the whole market research industry, if anyone needs it, any of your listeners need it, if you don't have BetterHelp and you'd like access to, we've got a corporate plan that we'd love to give you access to.
What's it called? BetterHelp?
BetterHelp, yeah. It's very, very good. And it's just online counselors because we see in our tracking, because we're tracking what's going on with people in North America and in Europe, we see, mental health is an issue. Alcoholism is an issue. Managing children's an issue. Relationships are an issue because we're all adjusting to this situation in different ways. And in fact, we're tracking emotions because that's what we do as a company. And we've never seen the world more, I'll call it, hurt or in more agony. So lots of frustration. 54% of people in North America are frustrated. 67% are irritated. 60% are uncomfortable. 40% are unhappy. People are bored. They haven't had the freedom to go and do the things that they want to do. And, our clients are needing to react to this. So just to transition to what our clients are doing, there was I'll call it a couple different groups. There was clients that, stopped all their media and all their insights work for just fear of them doing the wrong thing, and not wanting to measure what's happening in the market because everything was going to change. No one knew how long the lockdowns were going to last or when the next normal would be here. And I would say all of those clients have now started investing heavily into refreshing their consumer insights so that they can adjust throughout these times. McKinsey has these 5 horizons. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're talk about the 5 different stages of what's going to happen as we get towards this next normal. We already see consumer demands and needs changing across automotive, consumer packaged goods, entertainment, health. Like the fluctuations in how people's needs are moving are quite significant. There's much more focus on health and personal safety and personal security than there was before. People are shopping differently. Impulse items in store are not getting bought as often. The move to e-commerce has been massively accelerated, as you can imagine, because the people don't have to go out and go into those stores.
It happened with my agency, Branded. We're doing e-commerce sites, like
crazy, right? Like it's
launch one on the weekend. It's like bing, 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 bing. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah. So, and that's this has been something that's happening, and I think some of these changes that were already brewing are being massively accelerated. You've got Facebook talking about 50% of its staff being able to work from home over the next little while. I think they think in the next 5 years they expect 50% of their staff to be working remotely, and so it's just bringing about this massive change in society, which I love. It's an Asian word. I don't know if it's Japanese or Chinese for crisis, and it's both simultaneously danger and opportunity. And so we see, we're working with some of the biggest, best, most sophisticated brands in the world. They are just the really good ones are doubling down on this, understanding where the opportunities are that are emerging from this in terms of new consumer need states, and even spending more money on media to actually go and take advantage of what's going to be likely a significant downturn. And look, it's no surprise that P&G is going to double down on this because that's their playbook. They've published about it. And so they see these as massive opportunities to increase share of voice and thus ride that wave through long-term market share and product expansion throughout the recessions and then afterwards as well too. So it's just been fascinating to see how our clients are reacting. And then, we were just talking about earlier, with Black Lives Matter movement. I don't think that would have happened if we were working the way we usually were, because I think a lot of people, I don't know what unemployment is in America right now, but it might be, 40 to 50 million people. There's a lot of people that had time to go and see this social issue and protest against it. And it's amazing. The two things that I'm most amazed by are, one, that you create this COVID virus, and so the world's scientists are united in solving this one problem, and that's not happened like that before, where you'd think all of humanity would unite around solving one problem. And it's interesting, the scientists are collaborating more efficiently than they ever have before. Usually they try and hold stuff back and race to get the winning solution. They get published, they get the fame and fortune, but that's all gone because this is a global problem and everyone's united to go and solve it. Politicians are not doing that. Politicians are doing different things.
I know.
And it's troubling. Yeah, it's troubling to see the divisiveness that is happening, in different countries around the world, and how that all plays out. Unfortunately, it's going to impact us all, but thankfully, we have freedom of speech in many parts of the world, and you can see what happens. Already through the protest, you've got the Minneapolis Police Department they're going to completely rebuild it. And the Black Lives Matter movement, which has this notion of defund the police, which originally, when I saw it, was a little scary to me because I thought it meant eliminate the police department. It doesn't mean that. It means rebuild the police department.
Right.
And so they're going to do that. I would imagine many other places are going to do this as well too. And you've got, chokers have been banned. You've got marches at our friends in Amsterdam are showing us these pictures of massive marches. It's like a global unification against racism. And I don't think that would have been possible without COVID. So what can we do but look for the silver linings through this crisis?
these problems have been around for a while, but they're underlying and quiet and festering. And I think people being hunkered down, and I don't have any research like you guys around this, but people hunkered down in their house, frustrated, as you said, with the control that they kind of been released from. They don't have control of their own lives today. And then bang, this happens, and they just explode, and that's what's happening.
Right.
And
That's right.
it's unbelievable. Now, it's frustrating too that we've worked so hard to social distance, but I get it. They have to get out and talk about this. Now they're all together, and I just hope it doesn't really bring on more sickness in the U.S. But at the same time, they have the right to do it. They should be doing it. It's an amazing thing. My daughter, for example, she's 24 years old, and she's a designer. She's on Backyard Builds. I don't know if you know that show.
Cool. I do know. It's amazing.
Yeah. And Homes to Win, that one too. But
amazing. That's
so
amazing.
she protested, and now we can't see her for 2 weeks because she's got to kind of
Self-isolating.
Stay away from us, right? Because she was in this crowd of people. But it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm a very don't understand why all these things can happen. It's societally deep, and I think it's important that everybody gets out and do it. And I really commend everybody for doing that. Now, let me ask you something. So you're a CEO, and if you were talking from CEO to CEO, and they said you're up on stage, we don't have too many of these stages anymore, like a conference or whatever, but and I was to ask you, tell the audience from one CEO to the next, what kind of advice would you give them right now? Like, what is the thing they should really be focusing on within their organization? What would you tell them, Shane?
Yeah, I mean, we get asked to do this often, so easy question to answer. So again, I think the key things to think about are your customers, your staff, your stakeholders, if they're not in those two groups, like your shareholders in some cases, and citizens, and then what are you going to do heading into this recession? So the metaphor that I've been sharing with my team and with some clients is for many businesses, some businesses are just absolutely devastated. So you've got the restaurant business, which has just been absolutely demolished, and we did a piece on it. It's now, we did a survey to try to figure out how to get spending happening again in restaurants through delivery and takeout. And Uber Eats actually picked it up and has now sent it out to over 250,000 restaurants in North America, just with 5 tips that you can do to get people in this next normal spending again, so that you're reinventing your business model and pivoting it based on those changing needs of your customers, because your customers are going to have changing needs. I mean, we see it in all the survey research we do. And so really deeply understanding what those 4 or 5 steps are before we get back to the next normal, which would say that, fear of COVID has gone down to 0. Perhaps that's what the next normal is. There's lots of different definitions for what that is. I think it's more emotional in nature, actually, where all those emotions that are super negative go back to repress, or we're not in fight or flight mode anymore. We go back to just a more safe feeling, which is normal. Normal should be a feeling of safety, generally for most people. So go and understand your customers and understand how their needs are changing, and understand ask questions. Is your messaging appropriate? Is your brand positioning appropriate? Are the products and services that you're making for that group of people appropriate? Is your pricing appropriate? Is your digital experience appropriate? Is the path to purchase that you've modeled out appropriate? And then how are all those things going to change as we move through these different phases of recovery back to this new normal? Then the next thing to think about is your staff. So, I mean, we've done research around that as well too. I mean, for a living, we do research. How do we help the world? We do surveys, and then let the small, medium-sized business of the world that can't afford our services, which are typically quite expensive. How do we help those small and medium-sized businesses learn what's coming? Our employment research, started to understand some very interesting things, that many people don't want to come back to work the way they used to. Many people are scared of going back to the office. And in fact,
really,
we've got almost 75% of people that we reported an employer. 75% of people, is 2,000 North American surveyed, would report their employer if they saw safety violations around, you know, some of the COVID protocols around social distancing and sanitization and things like that. So the loyalty to employers, I think is gonna be put to the test. Yeah. And I think leaders need to come out and make sure that their staff are engaged and that they understand that employers hear them and are empathetic to them, and are trying to create a work environment where those employees feel good about working and doing their best work. And you know, the employees, they've had a whole different set of life changes too that are going on. I mean, you're going to see a lot of divorce happening. You're going to have a lot of substance abuse. You're going to have a lot of mental issues, because again, we see this in all our surveys where we see it skyrocketing. And I think employers need to be able to react and understand, and to help employees make sure that they're happy and they're healthy, and that they're feeling good about what they're doing.
You know, this whole mental health issue is, I think, bigger than it's kind of festering a little bit. I believe that it is there, and I think it's really great that you can bring to light that it's not just you as an individual. It's bigger than that. A lot of people are feeling this way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes anyone feel any better, but it means that you're not kind of doing this alone.
Yeah. I mean, and I think leaders need to come out and be very transparent. I'm in a group called Young Presidents Association.
Yes.
So my forum, I mean, those fine folks must run $100 billion in global revenue. So they see things in China and you know, various other ginormous companies that are going through different stuff. And I find it's an amazing support group for me. And one of the individuals that runs the $1 billion food company that he just sold to Mondelez, actually, mentioned that you've got to be transparent with your staff that you're going through it too, and you just can't put on this sheen of, oh yeah, everything's great. Yeah. And I did that. I just told all our staff on our Monday morning call that we do every Monday. It's a video call. We make everybody call in. Oh, that's great. Shared, like, this is the stuff I'm going through. I've got kids disturbing me all the time. All right. Yeah, it's not so bad, but they're like, oh, you've got that too. Yeah, because I think a lot of parents are like, oh my gosh, my kids are driving me crazy. I mean, there's good and bad to that. I love all the time I'm spending with them, and you know, that actually, Bodie told me that he loved the COVID because I don't go on any stupid business trips anymore. So yeah, it's great to hear that. The time with them has been fantastic, but you know, I'm not immune to all this going on, and I'm consuming the same media that everybody else is consuming, trying to figure out what's what and when's the end going to be here. And I've got relatives that are old, and you know, people are in this state of emotional, you know, flux where you know, our reality has just been completely changed at a very, very quick rate. And that is what takes a mental toll. So again, as I mentioned, we have our whole team on BetterHelp, where they're actively, you know, actually seeing counselors virtually like this, and we hear from them that it's really, really helping. And you know, again, to leaders, I would just, anything you can do to your staff to just help them be empathetic to the situation that they're in, and just put them first. You know, Steve Sinek, what's his name? I forget his name. Leaders eat last. Simon Sinek. Okay. It's the idea that in the military, the leaders eat last. Yeah. You put your team ahead, and I just believe that's an incredible principle to adhere to, because when you do that, it's just the right thing to do, and I think you then get a better engaged result from your staff as well too.
Now, you made an incredible offer at the beginning here that you open this up for clients and people if they want to use your BetterHelp. So how would they go about doing that? Like,
yeah, just send me an email. It's just email me shane.skillen@hotspex.com, and I'll get you in touch with our talent lead. Yeah, we'll give you access to our subscription, and it's called BetterHelp. And I mean, their usage is skyrocketed. Zoom was skyrocketed. Amazon skyrocketed. BetterHelp is definitely skyrocketing. I just one more thing I want to point out too is these other CEOs is you know, no matter how good you think it is now, there's a tidal wave coming, and it's gonna. The reason why the stock market's starting to reach back towards all-time highs is because the amount of liquidity the U.S. government is pumping into the system, but people are saving more. There's still going to be massive systemic unemployment, and there's been a real shock to society where I don't see a lot of people saying that we'll have a V on this in this economy, in the Canadian or the U.S. economy. China, I mean, it's coming back a little more quickly. But I think leaders, CEOs, you need to be prepared for that and do scenario planning and monitor out what you're going to do based on what's happening to your revenue, and make sure that your product development, your customer journeys are aligned to those different phases that we're going to go through this economic cycle. And then, you know, with the U.S.-Chinese relations are going to be fascinating over the next several years in terms of how this all plays out. You've got a very interesting leader in the United States right now that that will play politics more than anything else. And through that, there's just going to be these major gyrations that are just going to affect the world. And I think if you're a CEO, if that's going to impact you, I think you should scenario plan a couple of the different things that might happen as a result of that. But you know, if you're a CEO, you know what to do. And and then I'd listen to podcasts, read the Wall Street Journal, read the Harvard Business Review. You know, we as a society do well because we stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. And I think humanity has built up a tremendous amount of best practice that can be called on to help leaders through any times. And I mean, just the amount of content that's getting created all the time is really good. I love that McKinsey has opened up their stuff. I think Level 5, you've got David Kincaid on here tomorrow, has put out some amazing thought pieces around what leaders should be doing and what they should be thinking about. And I would just lean into that. Read a lot, keep your ears open, listen more, listen to your customers, listen to your employees, and you know, you do the best that you can. Yeah.
Well, you know, I really want to thank you today. We're kind of running out of time here, which is too bad because you have some great information. I may ask you if you might want to be more of a regular guest from time to time, because you have a.
I'd be happy to.
You do a great job of this, and we could check in maybe in a month from now and see how things are progressing. But I want to thank you today. And again, this is Shane Skillen. He's with Hotspex Research. They're a great firm that is changing in the digital world. The digital insights and engagement piece is really interesting. I may be talking to you about that with some of my clients in the near future. So again, I want to thank you very much, Shane, and I hope to be chatting with you soon.
Thanks, Ron. It's been a real pleasure, and good luck to everybody. It's all going to be okay. Remember, this too will pass, and we all, as marketers, have a big important role to play into this recovery, because it's going to be the brands and the services and the products. It's to restart that consumer engine, which is, you know, almost half the U.S. economy is consumer spending, and we got to get it going again so that we can, you know, make sure that next normal is a prosperous and happy and healthy.